Implementing Authentication Systems, a Security Awareness Training. Welcome to this lesson on implementing authentication systems. Authentication systems are the backbone of cybersecurity, ensuring that only authorized users, devices, and applications can access critical resources. The effectiveness of an authentication system depends on the strength of its authentication methods, integration with identity management, and ability to detect and mitigate unauthorized access attempts. In this lesson, we will explore different authentication technologies, best practices for implementation, and security considerations for modern authentication systems. Let's get started. An authentication system is a security framework that verifies the identity of users, devices, or applications before granting access to a system, network, or resource. Think of an authentication system like a security checkpoint at an airport. Passengers must present a valid ID, authentication factor, and the system verifies their identity before allowing them through. For example, when you log into an online banking platform, the authentication system verifies your identity using a password, a one-time passcode, OTP, or biometric authentication before granting access to your account. Ensure authentication systems support multi-factor authentication (MFA). Use modern authentication protocols like OAuth, SAML, or OpenID Connect. Implement strong password policies and encourage passwordless authentication methods. Authentication methods vary based on security needs, usability, and implementation requirements. The strongest authentication systems use multiple factors to verify user identities. First, something you know, such as passwords, PINs, or security questions. Second, something you have, such as a smart card, hardware token, or a one-time passcode OTP sent to a mobile device. Third, something you are, such as fingerprints, facial recognition, or voice patterns biometrics. For example, an employee using a biometric fingerprint scanner and a smart card to access a secure facility is using two-factor authentication, 2FA. Use multi-factor authentication to enhance security. Limit reliance on passwords by implementing passwordless authentication. Require biometric authentication for high-security environments. Modern authentication systems use advanced technologies to improve security, enhance user experience, and prevent credential theft. First, Single Sign-On (SSO). SSO allows users to authenticate once and access multiple applications without needing to re-enter credentials. Second, Federated Identity Management. FIM enables authentication across multiple organizations or cloud services using a trusted identity provider. Third, passwordless authentication. This method eliminates traditional passwords, replacing them with biometrics, smart cards, or authentication apps. Fourth, adaptive authentication. Also known as risk-based authentication, it adjusts security measures based on user behavior, location, and risk level. For example, an employee logging in from a recognized office location might only need a password, but if they attempt to log in from an unknown country, adaptive authentication might require additional verification, such as an OTP. Implement SSO for seamless authentication across applications. Use passwordless authentication to reduce credential-based attacks. Deploy adaptive authentication to enhance security based on risk factors. Authentication systems rely on industry standards and protocols to ensure secure and interoperable authentication across platforms. First, OAuth 2.0. OAuth is widely used for secure authorization, allowing users to grant third-party apps access to their data without sharing credentials. Second, OpenID Connect. Built on OAuth 2.0, OIDC is used for federated authentication and single sign-on (SSO). Third, Security Assertion Markup Language. SAML is used for exchanging authentication data between an identity provider and a service provider. Fourth, Kerberos. This protocol provides secure authentication in enterprise environments, commonly used in Active Directory systems. For example, when you log into Google using a third-party app like Zoom, OAuth allows the app to authenticate you without exposing your Google password. Use OAuth 2.0 and OIDC for secure web and mobile authentication. implement SAML for enterprise single sign-on SSO solutions. Ensure authentication protocols support encryption and token expiration policies. Authentication systems are frequent targets for cyber attacks, so organizations must implement security controls to mitigate threats. First, credential stuffing. Attackers use stolen usernames and passwords to gain unauthorized access to accounts. Second, phishing attacks. Hackers trick users into revealing authentication credentials through fake login pages or emails. Third, man-in-the-middle MITM attacks. Attackers intercept authentication data by exploiting weak encryption or unsecured networks. Fourth, brute force attacks. Hackers use automated tools to guess passwords and gain unauthorized access. For example, a hacker using a credential stuffing attack may attempt to log into corporate accounts with stolen email password combinations from previous data breaches. Enforce multi-factor authentication, MFA, to prevent credential stuffing. Implement anti-phishing training and security measures. Use encrypted authentication channels to prevent MITM attacks. Limit failed login attempts to prevent brute force attacks. Let's look at a real-world example of how authentication systems improve security in financial services. A major bank was experiencing frequent account takeover attempts due to weak password policies and phishing attacks. To strengthen authentication, the bank implemented multi-factor authentication, MFA, using biometric authentication and OTPs. Additionally, they deployed adaptive authentication requiring additional verification for high-risk transactions, such as large wire transfers. As a result, the bank reduced fraudulent account takeovers by 85% and improved customer security while maintaining a seamless login experience. Require MFA for online banking and financial transactions. Implement adaptive authentication for high-risk actions. Educate users about phishing threats and secure authentication practices. Now let's summarize what we've learned about implementing authentication systems. Authentication systems verify user, device, and application identities before granting access. Strong authentication methods include MFA, biometrics, and passwordless authentication. Modern authentication technologies like SSO, federated identity, and adaptive authentication improve security. Authentication protocols like OAuth 2.0, OIDC, and SAML ensure secure and scalable authentication. Mitigating authentication threats requires MFA encryption, phishing protection, and access controls. By implementing these best practices, organizations can enhance security, reduce identity fraud, and provide a seamless authentication experience for users.